10 techniques the emotional abuser uses when they play their mind games. In the words of Montell Jordon, this is how we do it. Now, I'm not suggesting for one moment that he's an emotional abuser. I know very little about him, but the words, this is how they do it, jumped into my head when I started to write the video, followed by his lyrics. I do love to use dictionary definitions, but as much as those, I love a good lyric. I think they're very, very powerful. So how do they do it? Behind the mask is a selfish, self-absorbed, deceitful person. They are incapable of empathy. However, they are very dangerous. The mask allows the emotional abuser to create a persona who is charming, funny, eloquent, intelligent, charismatic. But this never lasts long, and you may be witness to multiple times their mask has slipped before they discarded you or you walked away. These are one-sided relationships. They take, you give. And through the cycle of abuse and trauma bonding, they make you want to do it. And there may have been many people before you, and there will be definitely many people after you repeating the same patterns. They're such experts at manipulating people that you may not even realize it when you're doing it. So this is exactly what I want to cover in this video and expose. This is how they do it. Welcome to the Divorce Sanctuary. I'm Elizabeth, author of Finding Lily and the A to Z of emotional abuse. On this channel, I talk about healing from emotional abuse and divorcing emotionally from the abuser. I want to remind you that love should be unconditional. Divorcing emotionally is life-changing, and that you have a duty of care towards yourself, and that should be your mantra. I want to help you understand and process what's happening inside you and help you discover the best tools to heal on a deeper level, becoming the best version of yourself. If you're new to the channel, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you're returning, welcome back and thank you so much. And thank you to all my new subscribers over the last few months. It's just amazing. Thank you for your continued support. Everything described in the video, I will put links to in the description box below. The mind games of the master manipulator. This is how they do it. This video is not a diagnostic tool, and I'm not going to say this is for entertainment purposes only, because nothing about this behavior is entertaining. If you believe that you're being manipulated, please reach out to a professional who can help you break away from a toxic relationship and help you set and keep strong boundaries. Now, I've got 10 manipulation tactics. There are a lot more. So if you've got one that isn't on my list, please drop it in the comments box below, as it might help others. And if you stay to the end of the video, I'm going to share with you some techniques that will help you break the cycle. Narcissistic personality disorder involves a pattern of self-centeredness, arrogant thinking and behavior, a lack of empathy and consideration for other people, and an excessive need for admiration. There's obviously other forms of narcissistic personality disorder. I tend to call this emotional abuse because it is emotional abuse, and it's usually very hard to get someone on that spectrum who's that much higher up to take responsibility for their behavior and to get a formal diagnosis. Some people might describe people with NPD or high up on the spectrum as cocky, manipulative, selfish, patronizing, demanding. The mask allows the emotional abuser to create a persona who's charming, funny, eloquent, intelligent, charismatic. But this never lasts very long. And you may be witness to multiple times that their mask has slipped before they've either discarded you or you have managed to walk away. These are one-sided relationships. They take, you give. And through the cycle of abuse and trauma bonding, they make you want to do this. And you're not the first person they will have manipulated, and you certainly won't be the last. The first top #1 favourite tool for manipulation is gaslighting. Gaslighting is a covert, aggressive way of distorting another person's perception of reality to the point that the person starts to question their own sanity and their memory. Gaslighting is crazy making. It makes you think they're actually going crazy. It's a way of hiding abuse. And the motive behind gaslighting is to make you think that you're crazy or that your memory doesn't work correctly. So you can't trust yourself and your perceptions of reality. And because during the cycle of abuse, they position themselves as the primary caregiver, you turn to the abuser for support and protection. And very slowly over time, the abuser not only turns you crazy, but they take over your life. They twist the story to fit their narrative. And once the words have passed their lips, it becomes their truth. You might have misheard something, or you might have dreamt something as it didn't happen. Gaslighting creates effects of confusion, brain fog, self-doubt, paranoia, fear, terror, feeling like you're losing your mind, feeling vulnerable, difficulty making judgments and decisions, feeling like you're always apologizing, second-guessing yourself, feeling like you've got a sense of guilt, or that you aren't good enough, or that you're misunderstood. And a lot of people coming out of these relationships that have been gaslit feel very, very lonely. Gaslighting is their very favourite tool. And personally, I believe triangulation is their second favourite. Triangulation is used to manufacture emotions of jealousy and insecurity in you. And it's also used for narcissistic supply. They use another person to create jealousy and tension. They surround themselves with or talk about members of the opposite sex, friends, colleagues, former lovers. Remember the ones that they initially told you were awful and the reason they had to leave them, now they place them on the pedestal. They talk about future lovers. And what they're doing is they're creating an illusion of popularity. It might be that this woman turned up in a stunning red dress hugging her figure. She used to have weight issues. She decided to do something about it, picking up on your insecurities. The abuser uses triangulation to increase their self-esteem by devaluing others. This was a very specific pattern used during the devaluation stage, maybe a sprinkling in the idealization stage to gain control. When they use triangulation on a regular basis, it's to give the illusion that they're in high demand, keeping you on your toes, making sure that you're aware of what you need to do to keep and stay in their inner circle as they've secured you further into this relationship. They use triangulation to ensure that you are more invested in the relationship than you are in yourself. They break down your boundaries and they coerce you. You were aware of what happened in their other relationships. You heard all about their crazy exes. You knew what went wrong in these relationships, but you're so hooked up to the attention that you're receiving, you don't want to let go of that drug. Now, the next are in no particular order. So number 3 I'm going to talk about is projection. Projection is a defense mechanism that's deep within us, within ourselves, within our soul. Projection occurs when we unconsciously take the parts of ourselves that we don't like, our shadow side, and we place them onto somebody else. As I said, it's an inbuilt defense mechanism. So an example could be that a husband has romantic feelings towards a colleague, but rather than accepting these feelings, he projects them onto his wife, accusing her of cheating, shifting the blame in an attempt to deflect the attention away from himself. The emotional abuser's needs weren't met as a child, meaning that they're unable to master critical emotional development. So their caregivers dismiss their emotional needs, and the emotional immaturity they develop from an unhealthy or abusive childhood causes them to have incredibly fragile egos. And it's this fragility that makes them so explosive in the face of criticism. Their purpose is to erode the emotional stability of their victim by projecting their emotional instability onto them. So, for example, during the gaslighting, they will present to you with situations making you question your sanity, eroding your identity, and their ultimate goal is for you to become codependent. This allows them to project their emotional instability onto you, and over time you accept their version of events simply because you can't trust yourself, or your brain's so foggy you have no idea what's going on. Sometimes it's just easier because they've worn you down. Projection is an unconscious behaviour pattern, meaning that both narcissistic and non-narcissistic people will do this. The emotional abuser doesn't see people, they see objects. And just like a chessboard, each piece has a value. You might be their queen or a bishop. Children are usually pawns, and these roles are interchangeable. This is nothing about gender. This is about supply and attention, power and control. Another manipulation tactic is the silent treatment, where they force you to react by their silence. You might try various different ways to communicate with them, but nothing works. Like triangulation is a manipulation tactic. It's about manufacturing emotions in you to create a reaction. This might be purposely done in the sight or earshot of other people. Creating a reaction is very important, along with its friend gaslighting. You begin to question yourself. As they play the victim, they are able to show their flying monkeys that they weren't the emotionally unstable one, but you are. Another tactic is baiting. It's used to gain an emotional response from a person, usually in the form of angry, aggressive, or an emotional reaction. The normally easygoing you may have found yourself experiencing emotions that are so foreign to you. When animals are used for baiting, they are worried or tormented. They're being pitted against each other, usually for the purpose of entertainment. This is the same in these relationships. This was done for power and control, a way of deflecting their own behaviour or the attention away from them. During the idealization stage, they encouraged you to share your insecurities, and you may remember that they shared the same ones. However, we're now at the end of the relationship, or during a discard or devaluation, they know what buttons to press, and they know how to extract a reaction from you. They use mirroring, which allows the emotional abuser to manufacture, that word again, manufacture, a relationship where you have so much in common, where you share so many hopes and dreams, and you had the same insecurities. You were told that no one understood them in the way that you did, and that you were soulmates. They were mirroring all your amazing qualities, all the things that they have missing: empathy, the caring for others, your inner beauty, your deep forgiving soul. A lot of this takes place during the idealization or the love bombing stage. I want you to consider with the mirroring that part of you actually fell in love with yourself. They are very insecure people. They're looking for constant validation. I don't know whether they realize how much damage they actually cause, or in fact whether they care. It is really sad, but it doesn't make their behaviour right. You will never be able to help them. This has to be you first now. Future faking is another tool. The future that you created together, again, was manufactured. It was done during the idealization stage, when they listened to your every word. They watched your every mood, probably stalking you on social media. Nothing about the future was real, but the stories around it were so believable. So they took just enough of your dreams for the future, and they intertwined it into the fake future they created with you. So you believe that they're invested, or as invested in the relationship as you are or were. You will need to grieve the future, as well as the loss of the relationship, the loss of the person. You believed in the relationship and you gave up so much of yourself for it. You stayed in that relationship far too long, just like a person standing at a slot machine, too afraid to walk away. The promise of the future that they held over you kept you there. The fake future allows them to manipulate their way into your life. And this is all about power and control. The abuser is driven by their emotions to ensure that you are back under control. And this is how they exist. They need you. They will have told you that. I need you. We're meant to be together. We're soulmates. You are what makes me tick. They are empty. They need your supply to give them energy. They need you to puff them up like a pillow on the sofa, to wind them up like a little toy and point them in the right direction, and off they go. You won't feel seen or heard, but they don't care. Another technique is hoovering. This term is used to describe being sucked back in following a discard, just like a vacuum cleaner. The abuser attempts to get you back. This was used during the discard stage to hook you back into the relationship, ensuring that you're more focused on protecting the relationship than you were on protecting yourself. You might have been hoovered when you started to see who they really were, and what was really going on. Or maybe you were questioning their behaviour, realising it wasn't healthy. Or perhaps you were asking for guidance from friends and family. You might have experienced hoovering at the end of a relationship if they sensed that you were moving on. A bit like a vampire, they come back in an attempt to hook you back in, to drain the energy back out of you. You're an object to the abuser, something that they initially desired. Now they believe you belong to them and no one else is allowed to have you. One of the most dangerous forms of manipulation is intermittent reinforcement, which is the delivery of a reward at irregular intervals. This creates cognitive dissonance and also the hormone hits, which turn the relationship into an addiction and your drug of choice being the abuser. They change the goalposts so you believe during the cycle of abuse you understand or understand the rules, but they are changed. So cognitive dissonance causes a lot of psychological tension. So we're holding two opposing thought patterns, which happens through their behaviour. So during the idealisation stage, they fed you with information, and from this, you based your behaviour. The information they gave you also included what not to do in the relationship in the form of what their crazy exes did. And you believe that you can have a healthy, happy and secure relationship with them. After all, they've been telling you that you're soulmates, you're meant to be together and you're the only person that has ever understood them. Once they believe you're hooked, they test you in the way of devaluation. If you point out their behaviour, they dance you back round the cycle to the idealisation stage again until you're more invested in the relationship than you are in yourself. They then dance you around this cycle of abuse. They objectify you and humiliate you, and they play with your three core wounds, which are abandonment, shame and betrayal. So during the cycle of abuse, they always took you back to the idealisation stage, and that is until the final discard. Your mind is so confused as you have been constantly told how good you are together, that you're soulmates, but their actions don't match up. And during the devaluation stage, they stop any positive reinforcement that you were receiving from the mirroring, future faking, love bombing, etc. You remain in the relationship. Each time you're taken back to the idealisation stage, you're receiving the reward, despite it being harder to get. And you're not fully understanding how to get it again. You might see glimpses of the persona that they created at the beginning of the relationship. When the relationship is over, your mind is fighting with what is now true and what you believe was true. And you're craving the hormone hits and you get stuck in rumination. And the last one for the purpose of this video is flying monkeys, also known as the entourage or accomplices. Flying monkeys are enablers. They are an extension of the abuser. The term flying monkeys comes from the film The Wizard of Oz. They were brainwashed minions used by the Wicked Witch of the West. A flying monkey is someone that themselves has been manipulated by the abuser. And they've done that to get them to participate in a smear campaign. They are protecting their role within the abuser's life. The reason that a flying monkey is used is because you have more information on the abuser and you're able to expose who they really are. Remember, these are people with really fragile egos and they're very, very insecure people. So if it's done successfully, the abuser is able to use a flying monkey to isolate, humiliate, devalue you. And as well as being used to boost the abuser's ego, flying monkeys are used in smear campaigns. They spy on you and on your social media accounts and they report back the information. So coming out of these relationships, you have more questions than answers, and it's so easy to slip into rumination, which is the process of continuously thinking the same thoughts, which tend to be dark and sad. Rumination can be dangerous for your mental health, and it prolongs your ability to think and process emotions. The tactics described in this video are just a few of the techniques used to deliberately trick you into believing that this is all your fault or manufacturing emotions and creating jealousy. This is all about power and control. At the centre is a very insecure person who has a very fragile sense of self. This doesn't excuse what they do or their behaviour. It's just a reference to the fact that the only person who may be able to help them is a professional who has experience in this area. And even if they agree to get help, this is no guarantee that they will go through with it. It might be just another empty promise, or if they do attend 1 or 2 sessions, that they will continue. I believe these relationships are actually gifts. They highlight areas that we need to heal in, and they show up with the emotional pain. This concept might be difficult to comprehend at the moment, but the challenge, if you choose to accept, is very, very rewarding and life-changing. The original wound is an area that I've specialised in for over a decade, and it gives us the opportunity to stop repeating the patterns through our DNA and our relationships and the trauma we repeat with our family units. There are so many manipulative techniques that the emotional abuser uses to remain in power and control of your thoughts, your feelings, emotions. Divorcing emotionally means they lose that power and that you are out of their grasp. Staying in your body and out of your head helps you see the abuse and call it abuse. When you're in your head, you don't necessarily see their behaviour as abusive, as you were conditioned to believe the abuse was love. If you've experienced this type of behaviour as a child, you won't see this as abuse. To you, this is normal. And this is why it's crucial to heal the original wounds. If you found the video helpful in some way, please like and share, and consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps getting the videos out in front of other people that need it. I promise you're not alone. I will link some course material and some other videos that I think you might find useful below, and also a link to some of my free resources. I'm sending you loads and loads of love.